I have a 3D printed boat project I'm working on, and this is printed with PETG filament, and they say that the best structural glue for PETG is urethane, and I have this urethane Gorilla Glue, but this bottle is pretty old, so it's kind of thicker than what it is if it's a new bottle. But I'm going to see if I can use it and get it to work anyway. And the other thing is they have these places where you can put a carbon fiber tube inside to give it some structure, and I didn't have any carbon fiber, so I'm just going to glue some barbecue skewers that fit into those holes. So it's kind of a budget build, so that's what I'm going to use. And I didn't want to wait to order stuff and have to wait for it. So I guess I'm going to put some of this on this paper towel and rub some on these skewers first. Yeah, this is pretty thick. We'll see if this will work. Also, urethane glue, it needs some moisture to cure, so I have a little spray bottle of water that I can mist some moisture on. So I'm going to start by putting some on these skewers. Yeah, it's pretty thick stuff. I'm just going to mist it a little bit. It doesn't need a lot of water, just kind of mist it on. See if this will work. Okay. Just doing the same thing with the other skewer. I think I'll buy this stuff in smaller bottles so they don't get hard like this. I've had this one for a while, so you're supposed to try and keep all the air out of the bottle when you use some, but that's not the easiest thing to do. If you've used a lot, then seems to be a lot of air in there. Anyway. Just try and get some on the skewer. Just a little. Okay. Now, if I can get some in this groove. And this urethane glue will expand when it's drying, and so you have to either clamp the parts or tape them together or weight them down or something so that they stay together as it cures. So this would flow much easier if this was a new bottle. I don't recommend using an old bottle like this, but we'll see how it turns out. So these two sections together. A little water on this side. Okay. So what I'm going to try out is using some masking tape on the seams. See if I can get it to not be quite as messy as it cures. So I'll just put some on the seam to try and prevent most of the glue from oozing out. Just trying to get some of the excess cleaned out of the inside here. Alright, now just gonna get the rest of some glue on the rest of these skewers. And I'll fill this groove with glue. This would be a lot easier if the glue wasn't so old. Do a little better job up here in this groove. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. Okay. So I have this big bar clamp. Let's see if I can clamp it with that so that it can dry without any of the joints coming apart. Okay, I think that's going to be okay. And we'll just let that dry overnight and see how it looks once it's cured. Okay, this has had a chance to cure overnight, so I'm going to take this clamp off and pull off the masking tape and take a look and see how it turned out. So it seems pretty solid. It's a little bit of sanding to do, but it feels pretty strong. This white on the inside, that's from when I did use CA for this, the hatch cover. And when I put the hatch, I let it sit overnight like this, and I think that as that CA cured, it made those white spots from the fumes from the CA. But anyway, we've got the hull and the hatch done, so just need to do a little bit of finish work, sanding, and then install the electronics and motor. So that's sanded with 120 grit, and I'm going to just CA this to the back of the boat. I also have some screws for the rudder and going through, holding it, sandwiching it together, so I think CA will hold it fine. This is medium CA, so it does some gap filling. Okay, so that's CA'd and taped so it'll stay in place until that cures. Peeling the tape back here so I can drill holes and mount this rudder on. Mounting the rudder will help squeeze it together so that it's tight against the transom. So I got the tape on the top and bottom peeled away, and the rudder is going to go in those two holes. Can you guys see that? The rudder's going to go through those two holes, so I'll just drill those and install the rudder. These are nylock nuts, so they don't vibrate off. I'm just going to put a little CA on the threads, and as we screw those in, that should seal up any holes where the screws or threads go through the boat. You can also use silicone sealer. I just use CA in this case. Little trick, take some masking tape, the sticky side out, okay, I need a little longer piece. So the sticky side is out. Then you take your nut, stick it to that sticky side, and then you can get it positioned on the end of the screw. Okay, one is started. Okay, now they're both started. Okay, that's pretty good other than a little bit of sanding. sanding and clean up the rest of that, and then install the drive shaft motor, everything else. I have the servo mounted and glued in, the servo mount, and the motor mount is installed with urethane glue, and got the stuffing tube and the stinger bolted onto the transom. And commercial rudder that I purchased, the stinger I drew up in Onshape and 3D printed. So anyway, let's get this battery tray glued in there. Oh, and I also bought a new bottle of urethane glue, so it's a little better consistency, easier to get out of the tube. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of spray inside the hull, and then put this urethane glue on the battery tray. Put in there, but I've got urethane. Wipe this urethane off. I have dripped in here. Okay. So yeah, that urethane flows a lot better. So now I'm going to put something inside so that I can weight it down. So I'm just going to find something to put under the boat to hold it kind of level. And got this metal bar that's pretty heavy. And that should hold it in place while the urethane cures. Okay. The other thing I did is I took some T-nuts that are usually used for wood, and the little barbs, I took a pliers and bent the barbs down flat, and then I cut the T-nuts off a little bit shorter so that they wouldn't stick up too high, and then I glued those T-nuts in from underneath so that I have threaded, they're 632, threaded 632, so these little 632 screws will be able to screw into those. So that's what I'll use to hold the hatch down. I'm thinking about designing some little caps that can glue onto the screws so that you can just turn them in by hand instead of having to use a Allen wrench. I installed T-nuts on the inside from the bottom to mount the hatch, and I just bent the little prongs down flat so that it would fit in flush, and then glued them flush against the bottom side of the hull itself. Then I took and 3D printed these little caps with the knurlized top, and then I heated the screw and pushed the head of the screw into the knurlized cap. So now I have 4 retainers for the hatch. And the way I made the seal around the hatch is I had some gray RTV, and I put saran wrap on the bottom side of the hatch and then just wrapped it up over the top, taped it on the top so that it wouldn't stick to the hatch. Then I put this gray RTV around the lip. Then I pressed the hatch down into it so that the saran wrap was what was touching the RTV. Then once that RTV dried, then I removed the hatch, took the saran wrap off of the hatch, and it left a nice rubber seal for the seal the hatch. So like I said, this is a budget build. It's just about the cheapest way you can go to build a boat. And so I just have a brushed motor and a brushed ESC, 60 amp brushed ESC, and then they still have to mount the receiver, but that's the last thing left. 3D printed this little antenna holder and 3D printed a stand for the boat. So yeah, that's it, my 3D printed boat. So if you like this project, please hit that like button and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. It's free and it doesn't cost you anything. So please hit that subscribe button also. Okay, thanks for watching.